I believe it's the Hegelian Dialectic, which dictates the cause of the problem is for the predetermined solution, such as, but is not limited to, 9/11 and rape culture. Now, 9/11 is derived for their wish list for policies and their illegal wars, which they believe that David Boles' character was going to stop. And if he had stopped through his security with the trade towers in New York, then he would have promoted himself exponentially by his contracts in the war on terror, defending Israel from terrorist attacks with its security and counterattacks mechanisms, promoting him to an office predetermined in the military intelligence assumed by Mattis's character, and to the position that he would have done so, it would have subverted the motive of the war, neutralizing their justification for it, compelling them to question whether or not they should call it off because it would not profit them. And then you have the question concerning rape culture. Now, the question concerning rape culture is you have your alphas and your betas, and your alphas don't get accused by the betas because your worthless wusses aren't going to attack the predators, and your alphas then divvy out to the betas, and the divvying out to the betas allows for the position of everyone to sell and contract the sexual exchanges without prosecution against the unwilling female population, which is actively being manipulated. The position for the feminists, from the record in David's uh, historic problems, is derived by Rape Culture Matt, who wrote the Portland Girl Office. Now, the Portland Girl Office is derived by false accusations, which is the position to make an account for the subject of the prohibition in question, at which point the prohibition, being over exaggerated, then can collapse due to its over reliance on debt and bad faith, meaning people don't take it seriously, such as woke culture and some other events. At which point, this is supposed to be one of many policies specifically designed to defeat David Boles for the Nazis, who assumed that David would defeat their motive in the war on terror. At which point, you have J. Sekulow Civil War, which was created for arbitrary powers. Distraction aside, you have the arbitrary position to do anything for any reason as a trade in acquiring the Nazis' agenda of removing David's security for the black market as a resource from the federal government over the entire jurisdiction considered by the federal government, which is illegally expanded in the war on terror to reach the entire planet as opposed to just the federal nation or just the federal state. And the federal state of the feudalist California, replacing the Republic of California because the citizens did not vote in the government. They, not operating off of a popular government, are not a legal government. They're not a constitutional republic. They're a feudalist insurgency using compulsory force in order to overpower and ignore any rules that would obstruct their wish list from their wizard system for the black market. Now, you have currency, such as the dollar, and you have debt, such as your federal debt, and state debt is criminal, but they still use it. And then you have the dark money, which is the express position of trading in the subversion of the power of the purse money from one system to another system based on a false claim of need. And then you have the black market, which is the position of the act of contracting and trading of crimes on a platform. The overexploitation of spending destroys the dollar, compels them to rely on debt, which is over relied on and defeated and collapsed into the dark money, and the dark money being overly used is immediately collapsed into the black market, such as asset forfeitures or armed robbery, which compels all presumed crimes in the system as an obligation to sell on contracts. So everything that they want to claim is criminal they become mandatory. Purchasing the crime with the system allows them to replenish the system back up to the dark money, and then back up to debt, and then back up to the dollar, at which point their excessive fiscal irresponsibility is designed for the complete dismantlement of the economic structure through all of these stages. Now, these planned economic traumas to the United States are conducted by the insurgent terrorist devil agents responsible for all of these systems. Now, these overreaches are criminal treason, and their criminal treason is used in sedition of targeting David on the assumption of race, on the suspicion of status, derived by his legal contracts and human decency, and the assumption of his acquiring of a legal office inside the United States government and allies, at which point the targeting of him on these issues allows them the sedition of preventing the legal function of government bias against a superior. As an insurgent terrorist, their point is to obstruct justice and the function of government under law, replacing the republic with the feudalist insurrection. And this is how the Nazis wished to destroy the United States, similar how they did in Germany, by overlying on democracy over law and the engagement of terrorism as voter fraud, allowing them to overthrow the government by the mass persuasion and manipulation by force, giving them the false vote, at which points they have correctly engaged in the strategy to overthrow the United States into an abstract state of lawlessness, selling crime in perpetuity.